Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia J, and I'm here with Ashley Nicole Moss.
Hello,
How
hello,
how you
everybody.
feeling? How you feeling, Ashley?
Listen, it's midnight on the East Coast, but there's a lot of basketball to talk about, and obviously some breaking-ish. We're not going to speculate news, but it is what everybody is talking about up and down our timelines. We're going to dive into it, so it's keeping me alert, it's keeping me awake, and we're live, so the chat's going to keep me awake and alert and all those good things.
Absolutely. And we're going to be talking about all of that and also just the second round of the women's NCAA tournament. It was a really good round. There was a lot of great games that we're going to be breaking down. But before we get into the show, we do have to do a little bit of housekeeping. As always, make sure that you are connected with us in every single way. Right here, we have all of our handles, so make sure you connect that way. And you want to subscribe because when we have these live shows, you're going to get alerts. You're going to know when we're coming out with shows. You're going to just have all of the information that you need about We Need to Talk Now. So make sure that you are connected, subscribe, like, comment, do all the things so that, we can all stay connected together. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I mean,
again, if you are somebody who likes to listen to your pods instead of, watching it, we got you covered there too. Scan this QR code and we will pop up wherever you get your podcast. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify. So look, there's no reason to not be tapped in with us right here at We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. And speaking of We Need to Talk Now, Alicia, we're going to talk now because there is a lot to talk about. First and foremost, we are going to start the show off with, a somber note. I think that we can all agree with this. Now, like I said, we're not going to speculate. We're still waiting final diagnosis. None of us are doctors, although in my head, I sometimes think I am one. But USC star sophomore JuJu Watkins was injured in the team's win over Mississippi State in the first quarter. Watkins went down awkwardly on a double team fast break, and she ended up holding her right knee and had to be carried off the court. It was definitely hard to watch. I think that if you were on social media at the time, specifically Twitter, the timeline just collectively, if they could have collectively gasped, that's the sound you would have heard going up and down the timeline. Everybody was just putting out well wishes, prayer hands, wishing just the best for JuJu Watkins. Here are some of the notable WNBA athletes who were sending out their condolences and just well wishes to JuJu as she figures out what's going on with her. Right now, she is being evaluated at USC Keck Medicine staff and will not return to competition. She did not return to competition in the second round game. Like I said, against Mississippi State, USC was able to hold it down. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But we have to talk about JuJu. She's the heart and soul of the Trojans. She's the heart and soul of collegiate basketball across the board, specifically when you talk about the women's game. It would be irresponsible and it would be a lie if I said this doesn't put a dark cloud over the women's tournament, just because of how big of a star she is and how much you correlate college basketball and JuJu Watkins. It definitely changes the course of not only what we're going to see from the Trojans moving forward, but just the tournament as a whole. She's just that big of a star. She has that big of an impact.
she is. And even that picture that we just showed, it was so hard to see, the
Yeah.
emotion that was on her face. And again, we don't want to speculate as to what the injury is, but you just never, you never want to see any player injured. And JuJu, specifically is who we're talking about right now, somebody who doesn't show emotion, to see that was, really hard to see. And I'm sure it was really hard for her team to see.
Yeah.
And they really could have responded in a way. I mean, I wouldn't fault them for being shook, but let me tell you, they responded in a big way. They went on to end like the first half, 28-8. Kennedy Smith was 3 for 3 in plus 7 points. Like it was one of those moments where they stepped up for her. Tarika Foster Brasby actually tweeted, "This right here is how you let your girl know that everything will be okay and that USC is doing what they're supposed to do. And I couldn't agree more. When you look at Kiki Iriafen, who stepped up with a season high 36, 9, and 2, and she had 2 blocks as well. Freshmen also stepped up offensively and defensively. They combined for 41 points. I mean, you could go down the line. Avery Howell, 18 points. Kennedy Smith, 10. Kaylee Heckle, 13. And it just, that just let JuJu know that, everything is going to be okay regardless. Just to see them like that was inspiring. I hate that they had to, but to see it was inspiring.
Yeah, and look, you wouldn't have judged the team if it kind of took the air out of their tires, right? We've seen it happen on other levels as well. I've seen it happen in a variety of different games. I've seen it happen to my New York Knicks. I'm going to use that as an example when Jalen Brunson has gone down in various times throughout the points of the season. It kind of just takes the air out of the balloon, if you will, and a team is just so taken aback by what they just saw. And, ultimately what they're anticipating will be the outcome of that situation that it throws you off your momentum a little bit, throws you off your balance. So the fact that USC was able to compartmentalize and do the thing that JuJu would want them to do, and that is go out there and win this game and not worry about her until it was time to worry about her, meaning when that final buzzer sounded is when you worry about me. But right now I need you to worry about what's on the court. It's just a testament to how well they're coached, how mature they are as players, and how connected they are as a team. And it's next man up, next woman up in this situation. And I give them credit because that's not always a very easy thing to do. You're human, emotions get the best of you, and you never want to see your teammate, especially not your star, go down in the way that she did and not be able to walk on her own accord. So I give the Trojans absolute accolades for being able to handle things the way that they did. So we're gonna obviously keep our eyes close to this JuJu situation, as the rest of the basketball world will. And like we said at the start of this segment, we are hoping for the best, and we wish her the best as she goes through the tests and all of that she will ultimately have to be fully evaluated. So
yeah, and we just want to say Trust Jaw had a comment about this. Saddest thing is she could have sat out the entire game to rest her previous injury. And that is true. That could have happened, but nobody could have foreseen what did happen in this game. Injuries are something that nobody is immune to, unfortunately, in sports as well. So, we're just sending prayers, everything to JuJu, and also to USC, because we saw the way that they responded, and it was amazing to see the way that they responded. But it's still something that is going to be there, and they have a tournament to play. So we're just sending the best to USC and JuJu, as we will continue to keep our eye out on everything that's happening with them, and you'll be sure to hear it from us when we have our future shows. And right now we just want to take a turn to some other basketball that happened throughout the second round that we thought should have, had a little bit of shine on it, because the games were fantastic. Let's just start, Ashley, with the game that everyone is talking about, the most exciting game in the tourney so far. Maryland outlasts Alabama in a literally overtime thriller. I was out of my seat on this one. I don't know about you, but
Maryland's been giving us some thrillers too. I don't know if you saw the men give us a thriller also.
Yeah.
Something's in that Maryland crab, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, definitely something is going on in Maryland. But, this game specifically, the Terps rallied from 17 down. I mean, just imagine that, 17 down. It's like the most of any current Big Ten school. It was, they made that. But then the other thing is that I don't know if you saw, and unfortunately she's on the team that happened to lose, but there was a player that we, sorry, my notes just went away for a second. But let's talk about Sarah Ashley Barker. Now, I don't know if you guys were there and you were able to see it, but she literally stepped up in a huge way. She had 45 points, the fourth most in NCAA tournament history. And she got fouled on a three and had to go and make 3 free throws to make sure that the team was going into a second overtime, I believe. And she went up there and she sunk all 3 of them like there was nothing, ice in her veins. Like, it was one of the most amazing things I saw. I mean, she had a fantastic game overall, but then to get up there and step up for your team like that, I don't know how you feel about it, Ashley, but I mean, even though Maryland went on to win the game, it was definitely one of the moments of the tournament that made me stand up and cheer.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. 45 points, you're a dog for that. And I love what she said post game. She said, quote, if you're a women's basketball fan or anybody that just loves basketball, I think that every single person could say that it was the best game or one of the best games they've ever watched. I think that's more than true. It's one of the things I honestly just love about March Madness as a whole, whether you're watching the men's tournament, the women's tournament, or you're watching both. I just feel like there are so many of these type of performances because unlike, you know, in the professional leagues where you have multiple games to either make mistakes or correct your mistakes and get to the ultimate goal, this one and done environment just adds a different level of tenacity, a different level of ferociousness. And it's my favorite thing about the tournament. The energy that this tournament delivers just cannot be replicated. So I'm all for it. And I know when speaking of top dogs, we're going to have to talk about another one. And she's a Husky because God.
Yeah, well, we definitely about to talk about a Husky, but I also just wanted to say for Maryland specifically, I want to shout out Sarah Tibiasu. She literally willed that team to victory by scoring a season high 26 points. She scored 10 of her points in overtime, hitting clutch basket after clutch basket, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 9 of 17 from the floor, including 5 of 7 from 3. So I just want to shout her out too. And, you know, congratulations to them for going to the Sweet 16 for sure. But as you just alluded to, Ashley, we're going to talk about UConn. They absolutely, I don't want to say beat them, but they did. SSU, they beat them by 91-57. It was Paige Bueckers' final home game, which is even crazy to say out loud when I think about all of the things she went through in her college career. She is obviously a generational player, fantastic in every way, but she went through a lot while she was in UConn. And to see her in her last game, you know, obviously the crowd went crazy as they should. The team did as well. She had a lot to say to the crowd that was really emotional. But she also tied a career high for points with 36 points, which is just poetic if you really think about it, that she tied for that at her last home game. It ties Maya Moore for the most by a UConn player in the last 25 years. Most points by a UConn player in March Madness since Maya Moore. So only player across the NBA, WNBA, and college basketball to lead the league in assist to turnover ratio and be a 50-40-90 scorer. I mean, we could talk about her accolades for days, but I just really want to say thank you to Paige for what she's done for college basketball. She's still in the tournament, so I don't want to wrap it up all the way, but it's amazing to be a witness to her entire career and to see what she has accomplished. Truly.
Yeah, I agree completely. Everything she's bounced back from, everything she's fought through. I'm a huge Paige fan. I can't wait to see her as a professional player. Her legacy at UConn is more than cemented. And, you know, that last stat that you read off, the 50-40-90 split, is just one of the most insane stats I've ever seen. And I tweeted that. I said an absolutely insane stat line. She's a dog, man. I've just been really, really fortunate to be able to watch her play. And I know it's not going to be the end of it. We're going to keep watching her and she's going to keep growing. It's been a privilege, truly. That's really all I can say about it.
Yeah, and obviously I can't wait to see what she does in the rest of the tournament. So I'm not negating that, but I also can't wait to see what she does as a pro. So really looking forward to the rest of her career. And, it was great to see, her last time in the, arena that she played in, that it was fantastic. Yeah, Paige, Queen of Love Sports, Paige was on fire today. Okay. She really was. And what a great way to, end her being at home, and playing in front of her home crowd that she's played in front of for all of these years. Now, let's pivot to Texas. They beat Illinois 65-48. Madison Booker led Texas with 20 points, which, I mean, Madison Booker is going to Madison Booker. Okay. There are 19 points. I'm sorry, there was a big defensive effort that the team forced 20 turnovers. When you force 20 turnovers, you ballin', okay? And had 10 total steals. What did you think about that Texas game? It was just a solid game for them, I
Yeah.
felt like.
Yeah, I don't have too much on Texas. Listen, I'm focusing on the next team that we're gonna talk about, but I'll hold off for a second. Yeah, like you said, solid effort both offensively and defensively. I just like a team that really doesn't just rely. I'm a big defensive fan. I know that's kind of like an antiquated thing with how much people prioritize scoring and stuff like that. But it was a great defensive effort, and I appreciate that in any performance when it comes to basketball. So I'm here for it.
Well, you said that you were ready to talk about this, Ashley. So let's
Yeah,
talk about it.
sure.
But South Carolina, let's talk about them Gamecocks. South Carolina's second half comeback to beat the Hoosiers 64-53. And, Indiana had some things to say. Indiana had some things to say. And let's just do you just want to get into that, or you want to talk about something else before we get into that?
No, we can just get into it. I would just say this. Funny thing was, so Emma hits us in our group chat, our producer Emma, and was like, hey, if South Carolina gets upset by Indiana, will you guys be around to like do a reaction pod? And Alicia and I both were out doing different things. It was Sunday afternoon, like around what, like 5 at the time, my time. So like 1 o'clock your time, roughly.
Yeah.
And this was at this point, this was half, and that's exactly what I said. Abby Sports Picks and Analysis. I said in the
Come
group
on,
chat,
Abby.
I said, don't worry about it, Emma, because Dawn cursed them out in the locker room, and they gonna come out a very different team. And lo and behold, they came out a very different team. So
They sure did. Like, you already know Dawn is not going to let that fly. She's not going to let it fly. And you were right. And just for the record, I was at brunch, but I was watching it at the table, hella rude, at the table watching the game. But I was eating a pancake at the same time.
Been there.
But yeah, no, Ashley, you were 1000% right. And, yes, Dawn lit a fire, but there was also something else that was motivating them. Parrish said pregame that without a 6'7" kid in there with Camilla and Ashlyn Watkins being injured at the beginning of this year, that definitely helps us. That was the statement that was made. And, I mean, I don't think she probably should have said that because they all reacted to it. Bree Hall said that she went to bed thinking about it. I went to bed and read that article again and was like, oh, this is how you feel about us? For people like me and Raven, we need that extra motivation. We go into the game and we always are already thinking about defense, but now you've given us a reason to be motivated.
It's like that MJ meme where he's like, and I took that personal.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly
And Raven Johnson also said post game, made a lot of us mad because we're more than Camilla and Ash. We have player 1 through player 13 that are dogs, period. Well, she didn't say period. I added that. But
listen,
I
think this is the testament of a Dawn Staley coach team, right? It's taking, not necessarily that this was a hater. I don't want to say taking your haters because I think it's just healthy competition, healthy trash talk, but it's taking negativity, it's taking doubters, it's taking naysayers and using that as fuel, extra fuel to go ahead and ultimately get to what your goal is either that day, that year, that month, that week, you name it. And that's exactly what they did. And that's why they came out victorious. And that's a testament to not only them as individuals, but it's a testament to Dawn Staley as a coach. So I expected nothing less.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just a word to the wise, when you in a tournament and you play in South Carolina, you probably don't want to make them mad. That's all I got to say. Yeah, Quita, you got to be careful what you say because you never want to give the opponent extra motivation. And that is so real. And especially in this case, you're going into a tournament. Let's not do that now.
That's like poking the bear.
For real. It's definitely like poking the bear. So the last team we're going to talk about, and this, it's just another team who is playing solid basketball, but we're going to specifically talk about Lauren Betts, how she propelled UCLA to the Sweet 16. I mean, I've said this before, and many people are saying this, always bet on Betts. I'm a huge fan. 30 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. I mean, come on, let's go. So 14 of 17 from the field, had an absolute fantastic, phenomenal night. First UCLA player to have 30 and 10 in an NCAA tournament. Corey Close, Coach Corey Close, say that 12 times fast. Post-game said she's an absolute generational player, an elite player, no doubt. And then former Laker and also announcer, Michael Thompson, he ranked Betts 3rd all-time for UCLA centers. He said UCLA center ranking, Kareem, Walton, Lauren Betts. Now, I feel like people in the comments got to say something about this. I really want to hear what you have to say. But I, for one, personally, I would go with Michael. What are your thoughts, Ashley?
I'm not taking the bait on this one, but I will say this. I mean,
I will, because I always am down.
I know you always down. But I will say this. I love her game. I love her tenacity. I love what UCLA is doing, right? Because I think that when you're in Southern California, everyone's always heavy on USC, USC, USC. And then with you having JuJu on your team, obviously before the unfortunate situation tonight, it kind of takes the focus off the Bruins a little bit. And everyone kind of forgets, like, hey, we some dogs too. They're not the only big dog in Southern California. So I love that. I feel like it's not far-fetched to say that out of the 2 teams, UCLA has kind of flown under the radar of people a little bit. I think that everyone's been heavily on USC JuJu in terms of just focus, that people may have forgotten that UCLA is a great basketball team, and they're deep and they're talented, and it could be anyone's night on any given night. And that's one thing that I really like about this UCLA team, excuse me. So Michael Thompson, Klay Thompson's daddy, you may be right.
I like how you said the may, so you don't get the smoke. I'll take the smoke.
I know you'll take the smoke.
I will.
He might not be wrong though, but I got to see a list of all the centers. I just don't know everybody off the top of my head, whoever went to UCLA. That's just not information I carry. I'm East Coast all day. But I'm going to move down south, because we got to talk about LSU. There are some other teams making waves in the tourney. And LSU was a team that we actually talked about before the tournament started, a team that we were a little bit worried about just because of the injuries that kind of plagued them going into this situation. But LSU bounced back like they like to do in Baton Rouge and handled Florida State 101-71. Morrow and Flau'jae are back. The Tigers are looking like a dangerous team heading into the Sweet 16. Alicia, considering our concerns going into the tournament, this is a nice change of conversation that we're having about the Tigers.
Yeah, and I have to say they look good. They look good. As I'm watching them, I'm like, this is some solid basketball. I mean, I have to remind everybody that when they did win the chip, they were ranked third. They were, they were. So I'm not saying, I don't necessarily want to make a prediction right now, but I'm just telling you, they playing some good basketball. As I'm sitting there watching that, I'm like, listen, I don't know. We might have a problem here, So I cannot we were all wondering how they were going to look, especially Anissa Morrow and Flage, obviously, because they had the boots on during the selection Sunday. Everyone was like, what is going to happen? But that rest did them well. That rest did them well because they look like they are firing at all cylinders right now, right at the right time.
Yeah. Rest does the body good. But speaking of things being popping down south, we're going to go to Texas because TCU made their first Sweet 16 in school history. Now, TCU is having a moment. Now, I want to just make sure that I specify this. First Sweet 16 in school history. That doesn't mean just for the women. That's men or women. So in history, the women did that. They also set a women's sporting event record for attendance with almost 7,500 fans. Now, this is a remarkable turnaround for a plethora of different reasons. We're going to dive into HVL a little bit later on the show, but I think the biggest turnaround is regarding this is a program that went 1-17 in Big 12 play 2 years ago, and last year actually had to have tryouts because injuries led them to forfeit 2 games. So we talk about Hailey Van Lith against her former team. She got a double-double, 16 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds. But just the program as a whole, absolutely crazy the turnaround. And obviously, Hailey's former team, Louisville, Jada Curry had an absolutely phenomenal game. So I want to give her some love. 41 points, 4th most by an ACC player in tournament history. But Alicia, I feel like TCU is like the feel-good story of this tournament so far. I find it just the combination of the program and Hailey, it's hard not to root for this team, even if you're not a TCU fan.
I totally agree. I mean, I find myself rooting for them, you know, at every turn just because of what they have accomplished in such a small amount of time. And also HVL, what she has really accomplished, she didn't really with LSU, it just wasn't really the team for her and her play. We've talked about this before. And to see her playing and the way that she's playing and the team and the way that they're playing all together I love to see it, and I really want, and they're one of those teams that you want to see go far. Like you want to root for them. Like you said, Mark Campbell also said to make it to the Sweet 16 is really, really hard to do. Somehow Hailey just seems to do it every year. So it's normal for her, but for everybody else, it isn't normal. And I just want to point that out too. To make it to the Sweet 16 on any team that you're playing on is wild. That is absolutely wild. So this is what March Madness is all about. You want to see a team like this excel. And, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do against Notre Dame. We're going to be having a full Sweet 16 preview tomorrow. Let's be clear. So I don't want to give anything away, but it's one of the games that I want to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Because those two teams are going to be going at it, and it's going to be great.
For sure. Like Alicia said, we'll be previewing that tomorrow, but we're going to wrap up this segment real quick with another note. All of the number 5 seeds beat the number 4 seeds on Sunday. K-State with an overtime win over Kentucky to make their first Sweet 16 since 2002. Tennessee beat Ohio State. So there's a lot of celebrations to go around. Ole Miss over Baylor, 69-63. So there's a lot of celebrations. A lot of people will be continuing to go far in the tournament, but unfortunately there are teams that lost and there are players whose collegiate careers are coming to a close because of that. And we're going to highlight some of those players right now, Alicia.
Yeah, there's so many. I want to make this clear. There are many players that we could, honor and highlight. I don't want to discount the full list, right? But right now we're going to start off with Georgia Amore. Listen, a complete baller. She is amazing. And I hate to kind of see the way that, her college career ended. She had a fantastic game for Kentucky. And unfortunately, she missed a game-winning shot that, it was hard to see, but she wasn't really tripping off of it afterwards.
Mhm.
She said post-game, "I'm not gonna let one shot affect 5 years." And I know that's right. It's a great outlook, which is also a testament to the player that she is. She had a first triple-double in Virginia Tech history, leading the Hokies to the first ACC title and Final Four appearance, all-time assist leader for VT, tied Kentucky record for the most points in a game with 43, a two-time first-team All-ACC and one-time first-team All-ACC. And Chelsea Gray actually summed it up in the perfect of ways and said, "Great college career for Georgia Amoore." And it certainly was. Can't wait to see what she does moving forward in her career, obviously, but she's a baller through and through. And I just love that she's not going to let, what happened in that last game define who she is and what she has done in her college career. So hats off to her for sure. Moving into Lucy Olson.
Oh,
You actually, I'm sorry?
This broke my heart. This was sad. They showed her mom, and when we spoke to her on this very show, we were talking about how much her and her mom look alike. So it was just hard to kind of see them both visibly upset. And Lucy went into this tournament and just was super optimistic for Iowa and the outcome. And this was sad to see. This was hard to see.
Definitely hard to see. I was actually going to ask you, because I know you just had that interview, which is up on our YouTube, and you answered the questions I was going to ask you, because it was hard for me to watch. And I know that it was hard for her. Obviously, all of these players, it's a hard transition. I remember when I played, it was hard to have my final game. So, she finishes her career averaging 17.8 points. 5.2 assists in a single season at Iowa. And she said post-game, "I'm super grateful that I got the chance to play here. There were a lot of ups and downs, but super proud of the team, and everyone became my family. I'm just super grateful for it and wouldn't want it any other way. It just wasn't supposed to happen tonight."
Oh.
So hats off to you, Lucy. I know.
And she did, you know what?
Emotional.
One thing she reiterated again, and she said this to me also when I spoke to her at the Big Ten Media Day. She said the minute she stepped on campus at Iowa, everyone was so welcoming and treated her like she went there her entire collegiate career. And it just made you want to go harder for them because they were so warm and so welcoming and so in your corner. And she said that was such a huge level of inspiration and motivation for her. So that last line, "it wasn't supposed to happen tonight," kind of like that was hard. Yeah, it was hard to hear.
That's what got you.
Sweet
Yeah.
girl.
She definitely is a sweet girl, and another sweet young lady that we have to give flowers to is Deja Kelly.
Yes.
I know it's too much, Ashley. Too much for you. I got you with the 1-2. I'm sorry about that. But Deja Kelly started at UNC, finished at Oregon, 2,247 points, 564 rebounds, 464 assists, 196 steals in her career. She helped Oregon. Shout out to Oregon. I'm from Oregon. She helped Oregon too. I always got to say it. Helped Oregon to a 20-12 record in a lone season with Oregon. So that's an amazing impact in one season. She said post-game, "This has been truly one of the best years of my career. I could not be more thankful for this group, for the staff, for the program. I just wanted to get back to having fun playing the game again, playing with joy. And the minute I stepped on campus, that's what it was. That's what it was all about. I've never felt more connected with a team in my whole career. This year has meant the world to me." So it sounds like she's had a stellar last year of her college career, and we're looking forward to see what she does in all areas, because we know she's not only on the court, but she's also on the sidelines as a reporter. So looking forward to seeing what Deja does.
She it was a really great soundbite. She's a lot like me when she says, "I'm not gonna cry because I'm an ugly crier." Me too, girl. I am not a cute crier. There's some people who can cry like I'm like, yeah, not me.
Not
but yeah, I think the thing that stuck out to me the most, though, is that in her lone season with Oregon, excuse me, she felt more connected than she did at UNC, and I think that that says a lot. And I think that playing with joy is the biggest and the most important thing when it comes to any type of athlete, right? I think about the most recent athlete I can think of is when Jimmy Butler said, I just want to find my joy again before joining your Golden State Warriors. And, how you've seen that turnaround from him. I think people sometimes equate the fame, and then when you get to the professional level, the money and the opportunities, with that being the end all be all. And it's not. You just want to feel happy. You want to feel joy in what you do, what you wake up and do every single day, regardless of what that is. And when you don't feel that, it's hard, and it's hard to push forward, and it's hard to want to wake up and do what you need to do every single day if you don't feel the happiness to do it. So I'm glad that she found her joy again, and I hope that she continues to find that in her future endeavors. And I feel like that's a good transition to what we're going to talk about right now. And I just want to let everybody know before we have this conversation that there are comments from TCU star Hailey Van Lith that do include suicidal thoughts. So if suicide, mental health, things like that are sensitive subjects for you, we understand if you need to step away and listen at a later time, or do whatever it is that you need to do. Just wanted to give you that trigger warning a little bit. So recently she spoke about her mental health struggles. As you talked about, Alicia, she did have a little bit of a tumultuous path in the collegiate game. We talk about Louisville and then LSU, and then the LSU game that has everyone with a lasting memory, and that is guarding Caitlin Clark, which again, we were all going to get cooked guarding Caitlin Clark. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's a hard task. It kind of weighed on her. And recently, in the success of TCU, she spoke to the media and she said this: when I say that I got exposed to the media, social media at such a young age, I really struggled with mental health things. When I was younger and in college, I was suicidal. I was heavily medicated and I felt trapped. And you would never know because I was having a ton of success on the court. But internally and in life in general, I was ready to be done. And so that's what I mean when I speak on suffering and pain. I didn't even want to live. So to come from that to this is incredible. I've been praying all year. God, I know you've given me this testimony to share with the world. The quote goes into, there's more. There's a deeper, longer quote. She ended it and she said, even if basketball went away today, I truly would want to be here and love these people. And I would say these people would be everyone in her life, maybe her teammates, her family, her friends. She doesn't specify who, but if I had to dissect that, I would think that these people would just be the people in her life. Very heavy quote, and I think that it just continues to showcase what I feel like we have been preaching, not only on this platform, but just a lot of us in the world of sports, is that not everything is as it appears, and you never know what people are struggling with. And it's one of the reasons why I have been very adamant in my career to always draw a line in the sand when it comes to criticizing athletes outside of the game. Because I think that athletes know whatever happens on the court, you may not like it, but it's fair game. If you had a bad game, it's our job to criticize it. You may not like the criticism, but it comes with the territory, because just like a bad game, you can have a good game and then everyone's back on the wagon. But I think that there has become a blurred line for a lot of people when what happens outside of the realm of the game and who the person is and who the athlete is outside of what they do is no longer respected. And this is very much one of the reasons why I have been so adamant in my career never crossing that line, because you never know what someone is dealing with day in and day out and still continuing to show up and put their best foot forward. So I'm glad that she was so honest and transparent in speaking about this. I hope that it helps a lot of other people who have struggled with their mental health. I'm somebody who has struggled with mine. And I know that you have struggled with yours as well. And it's a constant battle, and there are good days and there are bad days. And I'm just glad that she was able to come out on the other side, because the game needs her. And honestly, the world needs her. And I'm just excited and happy that she was able to pull herself out of that place.
I am too. I wish that she didn't have to go through that. I wish that nobody had to go through it. But I think that using your experience as a powerful testimony can help somebody else that's either going through it, or just give perspective as to when somebody goes through a hard time, that they're not alone. Um, I, like you said, you've gone through things, and I can say the same. I can relate to this on all levels, including the suicidal thoughts. And it is a hard thing to get through, but once you do get through it, for you to even muster up the energy to want to help somebody else is so incredibly admirable, because it's one of the hardest things to do. And so, while I wish that she didn't have to have this testimony, I'm very proud of her for turning something that was so difficult to live through into something that could really, really help others. And so, my hat's off to her for sharing this and having the power to share it, because it's so hard to do. And I just hope that if anybody is in this, the same situation or in a different situation, but you can relate, just please talk to somebody and get help, because you matter and we love you and we need you here. And
And
that's
I
what I would
think
say. And that testimony is definitely going to help someone to feel that way.
and I think also what I would want to add is you know, the part where she was honest that she was, on medication and things like that. And obviously she said she was heavily medicated, but there are and this is something that took me a while to um grasp and be okay with. I think that a lot of the times we equate things like therapy or medications that can help balance your mood and change the way you think and change the way you see the world as you don't want to take it because that means that you're crazy or you have a problem or you're weird or you're different. And honestly, that took me a very long time to get past. And I'm somebody who's always been an advocate for mental health and going to therapy and things like that. But I think sometimes it's easier to say it than to live it when it's yourself. So I also encourage people who are struggling with their mental health, even if it's on the smallest of scales. I'm somebody who recently started taking medication for my anxiety and my depression, and it's changed the way that I've lived my life. I wake up every day and I'm happier. And when problems come across, I'm not so in my feelings about it and think the world is over. So I just encourage people to get help in any way that you can. And therapy and medication and things like that do not make you weak. They don't make you powerless. They don't make you crazy. They make you somebody who has a life that they want to live to the fullest. And sometimes we all just need a little bit of a push to make that happen. So please do not feel weird or different or whatever if you are one of those people. As you can see, there's two people right here having this conversation who are in the same boat. And I promise you, there's more people like us than there are people not like us. So that's
Absolutely.
what I would have to say.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, make sure that if you, and like Ashley said, if you need help, please get help. It's the strongest thing that you can do. Truly, truly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that you have thoughts, everybody watching, about that, and please drop those comments in. And in addition, please drop any questions that you have, because Ashley and I will be answering some.
Oh, here's a
And
good one.
here's one right here. Accent 77. That is a 7 and a 7, not a
Where'd
20.
you get a
Alicia.
27 from?
I don't know, girl. I don't even know what I was looking at, but 77
Okay.
said, Are the lack of
7-7.
upsets, Cinderellas, and numerous blowout wins an indicator of the impact of the NIL transfer portal on women's basketball?
Um,
So
so here's the
basically,
thing.
go ahead.
This was interesting because this point was brought up when it came to the men's tournament as well. Is the tournament as a whole kind of boring, diluted, whatever the word was used? Don't quote me on the exact word. I don't remember the terminology because of the lack of upsets or Cinderella teams. I personally think two things can be true. I do think because players are able to kind of put their destiny in their own hands, and the NIL has evened the playing field for a lot of programs that are willing to fund getting certain players and getting, funding their programs and things like that, and making it enticing for players to want to play for them. I think that we are getting better product, right? I think that personally, for me, upsets are fun in small spurts. I like that we're getting close games. I like that we're getting overtime. I like we're getting buzzer beaters. I like that we're getting, first half leaders and then second half leaders, and it's a completely different outcome. I think in regards to that, yeah, you can say that because the town is more dispersed, that's why we're getting these results. For people who only like March Madness because they want to see a number 20 seed go the distance, that's fun too. I get it. But I don't know, Alicia. I don't know about you. I like that the competition is so competitive, for lack of a better word, because the talent is all over the country. I enjoy this version of March Madness. What about you?
Yeah, I do. I do as well. I mean, I do love a good upset. Let's be
Girl, me
clear.
too.
I do.
And trust me.
I
Yeah.
do. But also, I think this is also reflected in the overall season. I mean, we had teams just handing
Mm-hmm.
each other losses, and we had 4 different number 1 teams throughout the year. And, so I feel like, to your point of what you're saying, it is making for better basketball, more competitive. And we're seeing that on all fronts. And so, you know what? I'm not going to lie. I'm going to think about this one a little bit more, because there's some little things that I think could, like you said, two things can be true at once. There's some things where I could say that it could impact that on a big level, but my initial thoughts are exactly what Ashley said, and not just for March Madness, but just for the season as a whole. I think we're just getting some beautiful, amazing basketball to watch.
Yeah. But that's a really good question. I think that should be studied more. And I think this is going to a good segue into this conversation, because I think in that regard, there's a lot of ants towards the transfer portal and the timing of it. But on the other side of the coin, when you're looking at what it's doing for the tournament and the competitiveness of the tournament and just college basketball as a whole, it's kind of like it's not that bad. It's a weird middle ground, which is what leads us, to this conversation right here. We're going to talk about the coaching changes and the transfer portal, because things are getting a little bit out of hand, and this is where it gets sticky, right? I think a lot of people don't have an issue with the transfer portal. They have an issue with the timing of the transfer portal. And this is why. Michigan guard Justin Pippen, yes, child of Scottie Pippen, just in case you were trying to piece that together, is reportedly entering the transfer portal. It was reported today by 24/7 Sports. But here's the kicker, guys. The Wolverines are currently in the Sweet 16 of the men's tournament. So, yeah, similarly, yeah, did I say that right? Similarly. Yeah, there we go. Grand Canyon announced that they are filling their head women's coaching gig with South Carolina assistant Winston Gandy. So, South Carolina, also very much still in the tournament. Here's the thing. Transfer portal, great after the season, after the tournament. The fact that it's open during the tournament, for me, I have a problem with that. I hate the timing of it. It shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't be able to disrupt the chemistry, the roster, the coaching staff of a team in the middle of a tournament run. I don't care if you're a bench player. I don't care if you're the 17th assistant. I need everyone to stay in their place until we either A, are eliminated, or B, win the whole thing. Nobody move. Everyone stay still. This is crazy to me.
Absolutely disrespectful to the team. And I'm talking about coaches that are coaching still and players that are playing still.
Absolutely.
It is wild to me that you would think it is okay to announce something like that when they're still in the throes of the tournament. That is so crazy. I can't even imagine. Listen, my coach, and we cool now, but my coach left me. She left me after my redshirt year. Don't even get me started. But after my redshirt year, and she was the one who recruited me there and the one that, got me to go to my college. And I'm so happy that I was there. Okay. But it was hard enough when we were done playing to get that.
Yeah.
I was crushed. I was absolutely crushed. And just to even think about being a player during that time, I don't care if you're winning, I don't care if the team is doing good or whatever, to find out that somebody who is coaching you or another player on the team that you love is gone or going to be gone or moving on, it's soul crushing in a lot of ways, especially if you're close to them and you like them.
And also, I think how crazy it is too. Like, let's use Justin Pippen for an example, right? Not saying that they will, but let's just say you say, I'm entering the transfer portal. Your team is right now in the Sweet 16. What if they win the whole thing? Like, won't you feel like a dummy? Like, you literally entered the transfer portal and your team goes on to win the whole thing. Like, maybe you should just wait, bro. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's wrong on a multitude of reasons. We could have a whole show about it. It's crazy. Like, it's nuts. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. But it also takes away from the actual news of the tournament and the accomplishments that are happening during the actual tournament. It's like, oh, here's this other news that comes in that just kind of puts a damper on everything and takes away from the people who should be on a pedestal during that time that are accomplishing it. So it's all around bad. I don't know why it's okay. There's nothing about it that's okay. And that's on that. Like, I wouldn't even argue it anymore. But let's pivot from that, Ashley, because that was just a lot. It was a lot. But let me tell you about an amazing accomplishment that should have light on it for sure. And that is that Wisconsin women's hockey. I mean, what have you guys seen any of, the highlights and everything that are going around? This is they won the chip. It's the Badgers' second national title in 3 years, 8th overall, the most in women's ice hockey overall.
Wow.
And then Kirsten Sims scored the game-tying goal with 18.9 seconds left and went on to score a game-winning goal in overtime. So we just got to shout them out. We were doing a lot of basketball, but women's sports is going on all over the place. And that we had to say because phenomenal on every level. I also want to throw one more thing in, Emma. I hope you don't mind. But I did notice earlier that we had a comment from Quita Love Sports. I don't know if she's still on here, but I want to say that it takes a lot of people to push women's sports forward. And you're one of them. I watch you. You're fantastic. You're amazing. Anybody on here, you should definitely subscribe to her. It's not competition over here. We are all pushing this needle forward.
We love everyone equally.
We do. And I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing because you are on after like every big game. You are breaking down I know how hard it is for you to do that on your own. I just want to give you your flowers, Quita. I hope you're on here still.
I love that.
And if you're not, I just want to say
girl.
That. Yeah, shout out to you for sure. Yeah, watch her. And also we have a show tomorrow that we're going to break down the Sweet 16. So make sure that you are, subscribing because you're going to get the alert for that show, just like you would have gotten this one if you were subscribed for this one. So make sure you do that. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things so that we can all be connected, and, you know, you'll be able to know exactly when we're coming on, because don't you want to see our lovely faces and talk about sports with us? So
I know that's right.
Period. But thank you guys for being with us. Thank you all for being with us. We look forward to many more shows on the final, or as we head towards the Final Four, because it has been some great basketball and it's been great being with each and every one of you. So until next time, it's been another great show with Ashley and I, and We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.
See you tomorrow.
I don't know.